Please welcome Nick Broomfield.
Firstly, thanks so much for putting the film on tonight. I was, particularly moved by Aileen Wuornos. I thought she was, in many ways, such a complicated and rather incredible person. And I felt very sort of personally involved with her in the amount of time I knew her, because I made a film about Aileen Wuornos in probably 92, and then kept in touch over the years. Aileen would write these incredibly long letters with little drawings on them, and I would occasionally kind of send a postcard back, but we did stay in touch. And then when I was called as a witness, we kind of rekindled that relationship. So it was a very long relationship, and I guess of all the films I made, maybe it was one of the most affecting. So it's, it was a very kind of personal film in a way.
Now, when you did the first film in 1992, what was it that drew you to Aileen Wuornos?
Well, it was kind of a completely different thing, actually. I remember I was actually offered a series for television on serial killers. And Aileen, of course, was the only woman who was killing men. The rest of them were men killing women. So I thought, well, at least she's a kind of refreshing change. And I called up her lawyer, Steve Glazer, and he immediately wanted money. He said, well, if you want an interview with her, that's $30,000. And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. This is like, and the guy sounded so strange. I mean, I noticed that he didn't seem to have an office, and I sort of asked him a few legal questions which he couldn't answer. So I thought that was a good basis for an interesting film. That was kind of why I made the first film. I think it was, impossible not to be affected by her, and I guess that's also why, that feature film Monster was made as well, because I think she did reach people's hearts.
So the question was a scene where Aileen is talking to you and maybe doesn't know the camera is on. What were your ethical considerations about that?
Yeah, I always get asked that question, and I guess it's a very good question. And it goes, in a sense, to the heart of the film, and also to the heart of my involvement as a witness. Because Aileen's story had always been that the first victim that she killed, Richard Mallory, had abused her and had put rubbing alcohol all over her, and that she'd killed him out of self-defense. That was her defense, and she'd always stuck to that. And it was very much on that basis that I had come forward as a witness, because there was some chance that they were going to re-examine the first case. This was on her appeal before execution. Then, when we all started working with Aileen, she was so determined to be executed. I think she just decided she was never going to get out again. She'd given up her dreams of breeding wolves with Arlene Prawley, her born-again Christian adopted mother, and just simply wanted to be executed. So she changed her initial plea, saying that she'd killed them all in cold blood, and that she was a serial killer and she should be executed. So I think I knew, for example, that this appeal wasn't actually, after a while, going to go anywhere. Jeb Bush was running for re-election, and he was going to execute her come what may, because he felt that this was a very popular move. So when Aileen thought I wasn't filming, in fact, we had obviously run out of tape or whatever we were using at the time, and we managed to catch her saying, I can't remember actually what she says anymore, but it's something like, I killed the first one of self-defense or whatever. I felt this was really the essence of the whole thing, which is she was somebody who, once she had killed once in self-defense, she then got into killing. And I think that all the other people she killed was for money. I don't think she was a proper serial killer the number made her a serial killer, but she wasn't into the fetish of killing. So Yes, but I think also I felt that justified leaving that footage in there, because for me it told the audience, it told the world who Aileen Wuornos really was, rather than it being this sort of make-believe person. I felt that was really important, and it wasn't something that was going to prevent her from being executed. I mean, this film came out way after she was executed.
Question is about the fiction film Monster, if any of that film was based on your work.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was, and I met Charlize before she started work on the film, and I gave her a lot of footage, and I think she used to watch the footage literally the second before she started acting, so she was very into Aileen and how Aileen spoke. And you know, I had actually been given a massive amount of footage by one of the local TV stations. There was this great guy at Wesh TV who had shot a lot of it and had actually kept the footage rather than erasing it. So I had quite a big library of material of Aileen, and they used that for Monster.
Question is about your persona on camera, and I think, you know, how much of it is put on, and how much of it is you.
Well, I think it's pretty much all me. I'm not really very good at acting at all, and I only put myself in there kind of as a last resort. And I think when I was first doing it with things like The Leader, which is
a film set in South Africa about a kind of pro-apartheid leader.
I mean, that was kind of, you know, it was very amusing to me to annoy Eugene Terreblanche, because he was such a bully and a thug, and he had no sense of humor. So those are the best people. You can't really go wrong with them. Anything you do is hilarious. I mean, some of the other films I haven't enjoyed doing so much. And, you know, I think when I first was in the films, it was different and fun, and none of the commissioning editors wanted me to be in the film. And they were all desperate. You know, they would always talk to my producer and say, "Can't you get him out of the," you know. And so then it was, you know, it's fun to do things that people don't want you to do, or to do something new that you think works. Then after a while, when they all wanted me to be in the films, it stopped being so much fun. And, you know, you also, I think, as a filmmaker, one of the things you enjoy is playing around with different ways of telling stories and different structure, different ways of involving an audience. And I think, you know, I think I've sort of, in the last film very much, I enjoyed letting the people take more of a center stage and being less present, so on.
Tales of the Grim Sleeper, you mean, where your own presence is scaled back quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it depends on what you're doing, but I think you can use more voiceover and less of yourself, or, you know, it just depends. One of the things I love so much about doing documentaries is that you can make absurdly funny films about really tragic situations, and that's why I think shooting in this kind of way, which is in a very spontaneous way, which isn't all set up interviews and writing a script beforehand, you manage to get some of that humor. I think the style of making documentaries currently is very much to have beautifully composed shots with people sitting in chairs and then cutting between them and kind of chucking a few pictures or graphics in between, which I don't think is great documentary filmmaking. I think reality is so fascinating, and people are so unbelievably weird and incredible the way they deal with things. I mean, the cast of characters in this film, you could never really write them. And I think that's why I think that is the power of documentary, and I'm so pleased you feel that.
Thank you very much for coming, and thanks especially to Nick Broomfield.
Thank you, Tom.